Hey middle schoolers, what's up? If you don't know me already, my name is Brent and I'm one of the student pastors at the Mandarin campus. I'm really excited to get to kick off this new series that we're in for the next 5 weeks called Big Picture. And Big Picture is a study on the life of Joseph. And if you know anything about Joseph, you know that he has a crazy story. You can read about it in Genesis, and he's a historical figure in Israel's history and in Christianity. And more important than just being a historical figure and somebody you can read about in a book, Joseph was a real person. And he had a real family, and they had some real problems. And that's not much different than you and I. We have a family, we have a real family, and we've got our issues as well. And so over the next 5 weeks, we're going to look at how God used Joseph to do something amazing in his family. And even though he didn't see the big picture all the way through, he was faithful to God, and God was able to use that faithfulness to do what God was trying to do in his family. And this week we're going to specifically focus on the beginning of the story, and the beginning of the story is a bit rocky. There's some stuff that happens there that it wasn't so great, and it came about because a lot of the people in his family were just kind of focused on himself, and I think we can relate to that. You know, a lot of times we tend to think when it comes to our families that we're the main character in the story, that it's all about us. You know, either we're not getting enough attention from our family because they're focusing on somebody else, and it's, why aren't you paying attention to me? Why aren't you thinking about what I want and what I need? And maybe you're on the flip side of that. Maybe your family's only paying attention to you, and you're like, give me a break, back up, give me some space and let me breathe, right? And I feel like those are two extremes, but those are two extremes that we can see a lot of times in our families. But when that happens, we tend to get focused on ourselves and we miss the bigger picture. Well, this is what was going on at the beginning of Joseph's story that we pick up in Genesis 37, and we're going to start in verses 3 and 4. And, you know, a little bit of backstory is that, you know, Joseph's dad, his name was Jacob, and Jacob had 13 sons, and out of these 13 sons, Joseph was his youngest son. He was born to him at a really old age, and so Jacob believed that Joseph was a special gift to him given from God. And this is where we're going to pick up in the story. So it's Genesis 37, verses 3 and 4. It says, Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe, but his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of him, and they couldn't say a kind word to him. So we're already kind of seeing where this story is shaping up to be, you know, something bad's about to happen, right? We can kind of see that. We can already see some things where, you know, there's favoritism coming into play, and there's kind of a little bit of, you know, there's frustration and there's anger at their brother because their brother's getting treated better than they are. So let's jump back in, verses 5 through 7. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. Listen to this dream, he said. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain, and suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed down before mine. Man, there's a lot of tension going on in this story because there's already favoritism. Dad's already showing favoritism to the youngest son, Joseph. The brothers are already upset. You know, they're kind of coming together as a group, but they're only thinking about what they as a group are thinking and feeling, not necessarily what their brother's feeling, what Joseph is feeling, or what their father's feeling. And so there's favoritism from Dad. The brothers are angry at Joseph. And then Joseph didn't really have a lot of self-awareness, right? He goes and he says, look at this dream I've got. And if you know anything about dreams back in this culture and at that time, a dream was something that they believed was coming from God. And in this case, it was a dream that God was giving Joseph. And this dream was something that God was showing Joseph about the future, about what was going to happen. But at the same time, the way Joseph presented it to his brothers, especially knowing, he probably knew by this point that they had, you know, hard feelings towards him. And the way this was presented just kind of came off wrong, right? And if you were one of those brothers, you would have been upset. You would have been mad that you're like, why is this kid who's getting all the attention, everything has been given to him, and all of a sudden now he's got this special dream from God, and he's a special boy who's going to be able to rule over us? You'd be mad, right? And if you were Joseph, you'd be like, guys, why do you hate me so much? You'd be wondering, like, why are you so mad? Because everybody in this family missed the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that God was trying to do something in their family, and each one of them was only concerned about themselves. And this happens in our families a lot too, because God has a bigger picture for our family. He has a bigger picture for you, for me, and for each one of our families, and what he wants our family to become. But when we miss the bigger picture, there are a lot of frustrations and a lot of hurts that come. And it makes it so that we don't become the family God wants us to be when we miss the bigger picture. So what can we do? What can we do in our families when we're missing the bigger picture? Number one is we can remember the impact we have on our families. Because often we're hyper aware of what their actions are doing to us, but we're not really thinking about what our actions are doing to them, right? And so, if you have a brother or sister and they say something to you and you have a rude reaction or you snap at them, you don't really think about how that affects them. You're only thinking about what they said to you and why that upset you, right? Or if your parents are like, hey, you need to do the dishes. I need to help you do this. I need your help doing this or that, or doing chores, and you're like, I want to play video games, or I want to be on YouTube, or I want to watch a movie. And instead of helping your parents out, who clearly need some help, we just have a negative reaction to them, and that ends up causing some tension and frustration between our siblings or our parents or anybody else that's in your house. Because we're not thinking about our actions, we're only thinking about what you don't want and how their actions and what they want is affecting us in a negative way. So when you can't see the bigger picture, we need to be aware of how our actions affect our family. The way that we can do this is get an accurate view of ourselves. Maybe you need to ask some questions. Maybe you need to ask your brother or sister, hey, when I said that, how did that make you feel? Or ask your parents, hey, when I don't do this or when I don't do that you're asking me to do, how does that make you feel? Or when your parent says something to you and you have a negative reaction, how does that make you feel? I've got some questions I want to ask you, and I want you to think about and think through your answers to these questions. These questions are, how is the way I'm acting affecting my family? How can I put my family first? What do I need to give up or put aside to serve my family? How can I show love to my family? And lastly, what can I do to put my family's needs before my own? God can do something special in your family, but it starts with you being aware of how your actions are affecting your family. And the next step, number 2, is to take a step to change it. Choose a different response to your family. If your brother or sister says something that annoys you, don't just snap at them. Say, hey, I don't appreciate that, and I would really like to find a way that we can interact with each other better, so that we're not, snapping at each other, saying rude things all the time, because you don't want to live in a house with tension. You don't want to live in a house where, everybody's angry with each other. And it takes one person to change it for good. It takes one person to say, I'm going to do something different, and that could be you. You could be the one that could take a step to change the actions that you're doing that might be negatively affecting your family and adding to tension, adding to frustration in the home. So when you can't see the bigger picture, remember the impact that you have on your family. Be aware of your actions and how those actions affect your family. And this might mean that you have to ask somebody outside of your family. Maybe it's your friend, maybe it's an older student, maybe it's a small group leader. Your small group leaders are awesome people that are here because they love you and they want to help you grow. And if you talk to them, they can probably give you an accurate picture of what's going on in your family and how your actions are affecting the rest of your family. And lastly, take a step to change. Choose a different response to your family. Choose a different way that you're going to act so that you can do something that's positive for your family, that you can help your family grow instead of adding to the decay. And as you go into your small groups this week, I want you to ask yourself this one question, and you're going to be discussing this with your small group leaders, and it's, what's a way that you may be causing conflict or tension in your family? Hey guys, if you watched this far in this video, thank you so much for doing so. I hope you got something out of this message today. But what I want to talk to you about real quick is small groups. And our small groups, we have amazing small group leaders, and they're here because they love you and they want to see you grow and they want to help you grow. And we believe that we grow in community, we grow in a group. And so if you're not already in a group, please drop a comment below and let us know that you want to get connected to groups. If you have a Facebook or Instagram, or if your mom or dad has a Facebook or Instagram, or anybody in your family, brother, sister, send us a message on there and let us know that you want to get connected to a group, because we believe that our growth happens in community, and we want you to have a group of friends that you can trust and rely on, and a mentor that can help you grow as you continue to get older and as you continue to face a lot of tough situations in life. And so we want to get you connected with a small group if you're not already. Also, if you have watched this far, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can keep up with the series, because we've got 4 more weeks of it, and there's some great stuff that we're going to be talking about, and we want to make sure that you get to hear every bit of it. We love you. Have a great week.